Alright, welcome to this episode of Working on Cars in the Desert. We're going to be fixing a 2004 Trailblazer.
Smash Engineering.
I don't really live in the desert, but you wouldn't know that by the temperature we're experiencing today. It's like real feel is over 100, so we're 3 digits in. Anyway, if you're clicking on this video, you probably have a Trailblazer platform vehicle, Bravada, Envoy, Saab, something, Buick, something. They made a lot of different vehicles off the same platform. This vehicle is low miles. It is 4x4, obviously, because the title of the video gave it away that we're working on the front differential. I don't know exactly what's wrong. You'll kind of experience it with me as we get there. The front axle where the CV shaft goes in, the seal is leaking. So I'm led to believe I was just going to change the seal, but then I didn't have time to change the seal, so I've been driving it. So I thought, well, I'll check the fluid and just to make sure it's not out of fluid while I'm driving it. So I was going to add some fluid to it. How you check the fluid on these, actually I'll show you in this video. Maybe I'll make a separate short video on how to do it, and just in case that's all you're trying to do. But you take off the plug, you stick your finger or something in there around the edge, and then you make sure there's some fluid on your finger or on your device that you're using. When I did that, it looked like a bass boat, and if you know what bass boats are, they're really glimmery and shiny, so it had some metal shavings in the oil. If you own this truck, that's not a death sentence. A lot of people who also own these trucks told me that it's not uncommon to find metal shavings in the differential fluid in the front. It's never a good sign. It's not something you want to see as a car owner. If you're a mechanic and you see that, that's money in your pocket. You're going to fix it for them. But being the owner of the car, and I imagine if you're watching this, you're the owner, or you could be in a shop. I did get some comments from people who work in shops and who have used my videos, and that's great. I love that I can help people. So anyway, I had some glimmer, some shine on my finger. So I researched it a little more, and there's a bearing just inside of the seal, I guess, that goes bad. And so I'm replacing the seal anyway, so I went ahead and ordered that bearing as well. So once I get in there, if the bearing is bad as well, I'll change the bearing and show you how to do that. But either way, I'll show you how to get to the seal, change the seal. This will also qualify for how to change your CV axle, because we have to take the CV axle out. So there's multiple kind of videos that could be wrapped into this one video. The first thing we're going to do, obviously, is we're going to pop the center cap off. And before you get started, you're going to need, everyone told me, a 36 millimeter socket. So I was on Amazon, and if I remember, I'll put a picture right here of the one I bought. They wanted like 30 bucks for one socket. I needed everyone told me I needed a 36 millimeter. So I was gonna order a 36 millimeter, and I found on Amazon a 4-pack with it's like, I don't know, 32, 34, 35, 36 or something. I'll show it here. But anyway, I'm so glad I did that. It paid off. Since I work on cars, I figured I couldn't lose on getting them all, and I paid only 25 bucks for all 4, and they are from whatever something. They're not a cheap metal. They're a quality metal. I'm so glad I did that, because mine, I don't know if yours is, maybe the original from the factory CV shaft is a 36. As we all know, when they rebuild these CV shafts, they send them over to some other country with cheaper labor, and they all grab them out of a bin and rebuild them. So who knows what size nut you're gonna get, but mine happens to be a 35. 36 fit on there, but it was really loose. 35 fits on there perfectly. So I don't know what your vehicle is. My vehicle is a 35. So the first thing I'm going to show you is taking the axle nut off. I like to do it, at least pop it loose with some weight on the vehicle, so that way it's not jerking everything. So everything's being held in place by the weight of the vehicle and the rubber tire on the ground, and you can pop it loose, and then you can retighten it by hand so it's not all coming apart. Then you can take the tire off, take everything else out, and get in there. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, unfortunately, Filmer wasn't filming this part. That's my filmer's name, Filmer. 35, I put it on there. It came off really easy, actually. One thing I will say about Milwaukee, this is not sponsored, but hey, Milwaukee, I'm up and coming. You could sponsor me. Your tools are only super expensive. This I don't know what model it is exactly. I guess it's the 2767-20, 18 volt. It has a smart like removal option here. If you go see where the lit up piece is there, it will do its own thing. Like, so you just hog down on the trigger and it'll like pulsate and do different things, and somehow it does it according to how much resistance it feels or whatever, but it does a really good job. And then once you get it loose, you switch it over to 3 and then you just reverse it out. So that came out really well. The next thing you're gonna wanna know or do, and most of them, yours will probably be stuck, is you're gonna need to tap on this with a dead blow to get it to, you want it to go in like this. That means that the CV shaft is not stuck in the wheel bearing. I can't tell you how many of these I've done where the CV shaft is like welded to the wheel bearing. In fact, I've had some where I've had to change the wheel bearing and CV shaft all as one because you just can't get it out. I mean, you're beating it so hard that you get to the point where you're like, there's no way that wheel bearing is still any good at this point. Next, we're gonna need a 19, so I always recommend using chrome when using an impact socket because it's super dangerous and you should never do it. That's all I have right now. Unfortunately, my impact sockets got lent out to someone and they never brought them back. If you're watching this, bring them back. So if you're using chrome, I don't recommend it. Don't put your hand on it, because the reason that this is safer than chrome, for one, this is really thin-walled and not very strong. The other thing is, if you have a little piece of this chrome defective, because it's a chrome coating, if you're like this and it catches your skin, it will, for one, it will tear up your hand. I've watched a guy do it. For two, as it starts coming undone, it will unravel and push the chrome into your, underneath your, it's an ER visit you don't want to have. So I'm gonna stick it like this and just not touch it. We'll get this out of our way. And the next thing I'm going to do is get a jack stand to put under there, because I didn't do that already. Now, make sure you get a jack stand that's rated for the amount of weight you're going to be using. Do not, actually, let me show you. Pause it. Don't use this one. I use this for painting like trailers and things to hold it up off the ground. I would never trust a mouse's life with this. I don't like mice. So this is sheet metal. This is not made to hold a truck in the air. And if you look, it's already cracking. So granted, I'm not going to be underneath this vehicle, but I don't want it to fall on me. So this is amazingly, it's a 6,000 pound, which I believe is what, 2 ton, something like that. 6,000 pound jack. Now you would say, well, how much does this truck weigh? Well, I guarantee you this corner of the truck doesn't have 6,000 pounds on it, or that tire wouldn't be inflated. So we'll stick this under here and we're safer. I'm not going to lower it down on it. I'm going to leave the weight on the jack because I like it like that. Wow, that Dr. Seuss unintentionally. One thing, if you watch any of my other videos, I always recommend using anti-seize. This is why I recommend using anti-seize. This came loose. These all came loose. There's anti-seize between here. Somebody who did this before me was a saint. I'm hoping that everything else has anti-seize on it too. This we'll see as we go. All right, we're gonna take our caliper. Oh, look at that anti-seize. If you're out there and you own this vehicle before me, muchos gracias. We're gonna take these out. I did pop them loose, obviously. They weren't hand tight the whole time, but it was very little effort. And you know, I don't know. I probably have to take the whole bracket off, but we'll see. I think the whole bracket has to come off, not just this. We're gonna get this out of the way. Got a little hanger here to hang it on, so it's not hanging on the hose. You never want to hang on your hose. Well, you don't want to hang on your hose. I think everyone can agree. Good time to check your brakes. Oh, that's supposed to be attached. Like that. I'm gonna lay these how they came off, so I know to put them on the same way. So they came off like that. The bracket for mine is an 18. All right, we run into our first really hard one. Oh. Recording? Mm-hmm. All right. When you run into this, instead of busting your knuckles, one thing you can do, put some tension on it. Make sure you're in the loosen, lefty-loosey here. Kind of acts like an impact. Whew. Before you get that one all the way loose, do the next one as well. It's not, you're not really beating the crap out of it. You're more than anything, you're just shocking it. I don't think you're supposed to put NICs on those, and there's not NICs on these. I think if anything, you're supposed to put Loctite. Which there was. I can smell it. Ah. I've never put Loctite on them. I've never had an issue, but you know, do you. Now our bracket's off. Check to make sure these are free moving. These are your caliper slide pins. If these get stuck, you will have one of your brake pads will be worn more than the other, which means your caliper is not self-centering. These allow your caliper to self-center. So it's kind of important. That will allow us to take the rotor off. Next, we're going to, I wonder if I should take out probably just the top. Let me analyze this situation and we'll go with what works best. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host. Anyway, I was hoping that I could do this without taking this entire piece off. And if you're watching this and you've done this before, or you've seen someone do it, there is a way. It eludes me on how. I watched someone change a wheel bearing on one of these before. The only thing I can think is they pulled it out, unbolted it. I could not get this CV shaft out of here without removing everything. But it's not terrible. I'll give you that. It's time consuming. It's doable. I'd say out of 10, it's probably like a 6.5. I didn't cuss at all, which I try not to. Because there's other words we can use to explain our emotions than cuss words. I'm not judging you if you cuss. It's just, sometimes it's a shit show, and Sometimes you gotta call it like you see it. Anyway, so what I did was, if your car has speed sensors, anti-lock brakes, whatever this, ABS, whatever it is, it's a speed sensor. That plugs in right here. You'll unclip a few clips, which you'll see. You'll be able to see them because you'll follow this up. And then when I was trying to unplug this, I broke that clip, which is not a big deal. I'll just zip tie it up here out of the way. The caliper, I wish I could have recorded this, but this was crazy. I needed all hands on deck, so there was no person free to record. The caliper, once you take this upper ball joint loose, bring it down, push this up out of your way, feed the caliper back through here because the line is on this side, and then I hung it off here. There's no tension on this line, it's just sitting here. That way you don't have the weight of the caliper on the system. Now, you could unbolt it here. I don't want to open my brake lines on, when I don't need to. You take your tie rod off. And then you take your lower ball joint loose and you take your whole piece out. This gives you a good opportunity to look at everything and make sure everything's kosher. Next, I need to pull this CV axle out. Now, the first thing you do not ever do is grab onto this and pull. These are just kind of held together by spring tension. There's not a whole lot holding these together. So if you grab on this and yoink, you're gonna pull half your CV shaft out and the other half's gonna be still in your transmission, and you're probably gonna rip your boot. You're gonna need a new CV shaft, and you're still gonna have to get it out of the whatever you want to call it, your front differential. So next, what I'm gonna do is try to get behind it. I went to a yard sale and got this for $3. It's like an old, I don't know, but I always like getting things that have a pry capability because you never know when you're gonna have a stubborn something that you gotta pry out. But I'm gonna try to get between the transmission, or between the differential and this, see if I can just lightly pry. They do make a tool for this, so if this gets stuck, the next clip will probably be me driving to AutoZone or walking in AutoZone to get the tool. The ball joint for me, lower ball joint, was a 24 millimeter. The upper ball joint was a 15. I always recommend putting things back. That way there's not a mess of bolts that you don't know what it goes to. Because otherwise you'll end up with stuff you don't know where it goes. So the other issue I had was, as I was loosening this, the whole thing started spinning. That's never good. But the ball joint itself's not bad. It's still very firm in there, so I'm not going to change it. But so yeah, let's see if we can get this axle out. Well, we've made progress. Took me maybe like an hour. But something about a hot day is the longer it takes you, the cooler it gets. So, they make a tool for this. The tool doesn't work for this particular vehicle because this frame member here is in the way. You can't get the tool. You have to get the tool straight on with this here between your axle and the differential. Yeah, don't. So what I did was, I didn't do this really hard, but I tapped this in the top to where it just put some tension between this and the CV axle. And then I was able to get my $3 yard sale pry bar up through this spot here. And I was able to get onto the edge of the axle, and I pried, down against this piece. And I pried really hard because I'd been struggling. And if you've ever had a wrench on a bolt where you pried really hard and then it slipped loose and you punched something, I was prying right here, and when it came loose, I slammed into, so I got like a bruise forming here. Just a boo-boo update there. If you're too old to call it a boo-boo, you should be in a nursing home. I'm just saying. But anyway, sorry, I hate the smell
of transaxle oil. It's disgusting smell. It's got a very unique smell. Actually, I had I had an 83 Camaro, and I bought it from the guy, and I guess I had a rear axle leak. So he had totes of like rear axle fluid in the back of the car. I loaded some stuff in there. I drove it back from Kentucky. I loaded some stuff in there. Unbeknownst to me, one of the bottles fell over, and I smushed it, and it oozed all out in the back of my Camaro. And the Generation 3 Camaros have like a big tub. Well, it filled the bottom of my tub and carpet. I never got that smell. I had to cut the carpet out and like carb cleaner. Anyway, we're off track. It's disgusting. And ever since then, I've never forgot how bad it smells. Anyway, it did work, and surprisingly well. So get yourself some type of punch or wow, I'm drawing a blank what this is. A chisel. Get yourself a chisel and put just a little bit of tension on the top, and then pry from the bottom. This is not from me, by the way. Somebody else had at some point pried here or tried to. It's older, I can see because it's oxidized, but somebody else attempted to get that axle out and made that little mark. It's not a big deal. It's not cracked or nothing, and it's not into the seal area. I will say this seal is definitely bad. It's got a little rubber lip that's supposed to run on here, on this piece here, which I'm also going to clean this up because it's kind of rough with garbage. But it's supposed to run on that. I just touched it, and it, let's see if I can, yeah, I just touched it and it breaks off. So while you're here, you'll want to inspect this inside bearing here. I assumed mine would be bad because usually when the seal goes bad, it's because the shaft is held in here, and when the bearing goes bad, it allows the shaft to kind of fall down a little bit, and it runs on the seal really hard, and then it usually melts and damages the seal, and then fluid comes out. So hopefully we're in good shape, and we just got to change the seal. The next hard part that I've heard is getting this seal out of the housing without damaging the housing. So we're going to move to that. I did kind of do this backwards. I pulled this axle out before I drained it. Don't do that. It had more fluid in it than I anticipated it did. So here's my fluid. Yes, I have some sheen in it. So I don't know. This car's been pretty well taken care of, but it's definitely got some metal sheen in there. And a leaf for good measure. But there's quite a bit of metal in there. So I'm hoping that's not going to be a problem. Leave it down in the comments section if you did yours and it had this much sheen. Every video I've ever looked up looks like about this much sheen, but it looks like it's almost like, I don't know, like I said, it looks like a bass boat. I'm not super enthusiastic about that, but I do believe this is the original oil, and I think this just rolled 100,000 miles. So, you know, maybe it's not all bad, but I don't see any big chunks. It's not humming or making any funky noise. I didn't try the 4x4. The person I bought it off of said the 4x4 worked great. I don't anticipate using the 4x4 very much. Hopefully not. The winters have been fairly mild where I live. But when you need 4x4, you need it. So I want to maintain things and make them work. A lot of people that know about these and how hard all this is to get to just that seal told me to just remove the drive shaft and eliminate the CV axle here and plug it and just don't have 4x4. But it sounds like the cheap way out, and we're not there yet. So I'm going to attempt to get this seal out. Remember what I said about when you have a wrench on something and then it breaks loose and then you punch something? Yeah. I was having a really hard time getting the seal out. So I found this pry bar that I had, and it fit really good in there. I mean, like really good. So I was prying and I seen it start to move, so I got really amped up and I had my hand like this, and it came loose, and I punched or smashed the absolute poop out of my pinky. Like, it's, you can't tell, but it's swelled up pretty big. I mean, I hit it so hard it's bleeding out of the out of where it hooks to the nail, and the nail is loose now. So yeah, big boo-boo. Big boo-boo. But if there is a bright side, I got it out. I'm shaking. That's how bad it hurts. Woo! Anyway, so yeah. We're gonna, I'm gonna clean this up. I'll make sure that there's no burrs around the outside edge. I'm gonna re-inspect that bearing. I'm gonna wipe it out as best I can. I'm gonna compare my new seal to my old seal, because the excellent experts at the auto parts store told me there was only one seal for this. And then one of you other brave individuals who posts online and put yourself out there for all the scrutiny of the experts that will tell you you did everything wrong, but they still watched your entire video. Yeah, those guys. Anyway, one of the guys who was brave enough to post that I aforementioned said on there that there are two seals. One is for, like, I guess maybe like the V8 models or something. Like, I think the Bravadas have bigger CV axles. Anyway, to avoid dealing with that issue, I just ordered both seals and I'll return whichever one I don't use. So I'm going to compare this to my new seal. I'll find a socket or something that matches, not that one, but something that matches the outer diameter there. I know they sell tools for that, and they rent tools for it. I might go rent the tool. And then we'll try to pound that back in there. There is very little room to get a hammer in here. I don't know if you can tell, but maybe if I jack up here, I can get this where I have a straight line of sight and I can pound the new one in there. But yeah, so I'm not gonna record it, not gonna bore you with it, and I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm gonna put on some music and I'll check in a little bit. It's pretty self-explanatory. I did drain the fluid. I did see online where someone sprayed brake cleaner in there. Carb cleaner, brake cleaner, something. Gosh, that hurts. I can't believe how much it's swelling. Anyway, somebody sprayed, they took this plug out and sprayed carb cleaner, brake cleaner in there to flush out the metal shavings. I thought about doing that, but there's another seal just like this on the other side of this housing that goes between your oil pan and the intermediate shaft. I don't want to risk getting carb cleaner, which kind of eats rubber, in there on that seal, because if you think this seal is bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. That other seal is way worse. I'm hoping that other seal is still good. This one's really brittle. The other one's probably brittle. I'm not doing the other one without a hoist. I don't recommend you do either. So, I will check in momentarily. Okay, so the worst has happened. We lost the video clip, but it's fine. It's pretty self-explanatory. I got a new inner bearing here. I'm gonna go ahead. I went ahead and changed it. There was some metal shavings in here. The bearing was a little on the loose side, so I changed it. The number is HK4012. You can see here HK4012. That's the bearing for mine. This came out really easy. It just kind of, I spun it right by hand. Yeah, just like this. So that's kind of both scary and nice that it comes out that easy. It'd be really bad if it came out that bad when you were driving. But I guess things are in place to stop that. So we'll put that back in. And I guess you just go till you can't. I don't know. Do you give it a little? You give it a little push with a screwdriver? That bad? I don't know. Alright. It was hand tight when I put it in, so we'll leave it there. I'm going to go ahead and find some way to install my seal. I need something, that diameter so that I'm not pressing, or I could just tap it around very gently and get it in. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I'll get it in and then I'll let you know. think what I'll do probably is end up changing the fluid like in 20,000 miles to flush out some of that, whatever metal shavings are in there. I don't like that there's metal shavings in there. I really don't know what to do to flush it out. I don't have, well, I wonder if I have any old 75W90 I can put in there and then let it run out. Because I definitely don't want, I want those metal shavings out. I don't want those in the new oil. The seal went in surprisingly easy. Didn't gouge it anywhere. There's no spots where it's pulling out or ripped off or anything like that. If you install the seal and you're questionable, as if, first of all, get two, because you could damage it. But if you're questioning yourself whether it's good or it looks kind of iffy, just rip it out and change it. You're already here. You don't want to have to do all this again. So just go ahead and make it right. Do it right the first time. Get it done. That went surprisingly well. Okay, so we got this back together. I'm going to torque this. What I found says 103 foot-pounds. We're not going to torque it without the tire on because it's just going to do that. We're going to wait till we get the tire put on. Anyway, it says 103 foot-pounds. I may or may not record actually torquing it because you get the idea. Oh, well, I got these here. This is the kit that I bought. It's actually pretty awesome. I'm happy that I have it. So they all come oiled up. It's 36, 35, 33, and 32. I think that's what I said. But it's a mix power, some Chinese brand. Oh yeah, it says right there. It's MT002. I got it off Amazon for like 26 bucks or something. So I don't often buy myself gifts, but when I do, it's to fix the family car. The gift that keeps on giving. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna put this back together. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do. I'm hung up whether I should take the fill plug off and spray like brake cleaner in there and flush it out and then put the new fluid in there. My worry is that brake cleaner could get stuck in some cavity somewhere. And then when you add the new fluid, the brake cleaner will just break down the new fluid, and then you're running in there with really thin, broken down, destroyed fluid. I'm leaning towards not doing it. I think instead what I'm going to do is fill it. Winter's coming. I'll probably like fill it. I don't drive a lot with this vehicle. So I'm thinking I'll fill it, and then in the spring, as soon as we get warm enough weather to come lay out here, I'll drain it, like flush it, and then I'll fill it again. And then maybe even again after that at the end of summer. I really, 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 really like this truck. Like, those of you who own these, you probably know what I mean, because I've seen a lot of people sink a lot of money in trucks that no one else can understand it. But once you've owned one, they ride really nice. They get absolutely terrible gas mileage, but they ride really nice. It's really comfortable for the family. They're really safe in car accidents, supposedly. Hopefully I never find out. The only thing is, if you lived in the Rust Belt, yours will not look like this. This is the area, if you're looking at buying one of these, this is the area that rusts out on these real bad. This one's solid. It's like, I mean, there's not even surface rust on this one. It's crazy. And so that's why I love this one. It's got the straight 6 4.2 liter. It's got plenty of power. I don't even think I would opt for the V8. If I could snap my fingers and have the V8, they get almost the same gas mileage, really, realistically, especially if you tow with it. But it has the 4L60E in it. Could be good or bad. If you take care of them, I've heard put it this way, my dad has a 2006 of this exact truck, and he has 200-something thousand miles on it. Original trans, original engine. He just does flushes on the trans whenever it tells you, the interval tells you. And he moved 5 hours away from where he lived, and we used his Trailblazer to tow a double axle landscape trailer full of stuff, and we probably did 15 trips with it. And I mean, we were towing hard with it, freeway and stop and go, and he's been driving it for 5 years since then and not had any issues with it. So I think a lot of these trucks get a bad name for their transmissions. A lot of the 4L60s get a bad name because people under-maintain them and expect that they can abuse them. Also, probably build standard quality, like maybe they switched where they build some of them, I don't know. I did have a 2001 Silverado. I bought it with a bad trans and put a trans in it. And I think I had a rebuilt upgraded trans I bought for it, and I think I paid like sub $700 for the trans, and then I put it in myself. And I should have recorded it because you guys probably would have liked that video. That was a younger me that probably sweared a little more than I do now. But anyway, enough yabbering. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I've made up my mind. Talking to you guys on camera helped me make up my mind. I think it's like 25 bucks, 30, maybe under 30 bucks for the fluid. And I'll just drive it for a few months, and then I'll flush it. The seal, the old seal was definitely bad. The bearing didn't look as bad as like I would have expected it to, but this seal was absolutely destroyed. I mean, it's all brittle and snapping off like it's supposed to be rubber, but if you see that, it's like plastic. It's breaking off like plastic, like in pieces. Like it shouldn't just break off like that. It's supposed to be elastic. So it's probably the original one if I had to guess. So yeah, we're going to. I'm gonna lower it down with the drain plug off because right now I have it lifted up, so a lot of the fluid probably went to the other side. So I'm gonna lower it down so that the drain plug is the lowest part of the differential, and I'm gonna let it drain out, and then I'll raise it back up, and well, I don't know, I'll probably have it to about the height that the tire goes because I don't want to overfill it. If you overfill it, you risk blowing this seal out just by overfilling it. Any of you that have ever done rear axle seals on like a solid rear axle truck like this has, if you overfill them, the pressure will build up and it'll pop the axle seal, which I've done before. So.
Let it down easy. Oh, you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she's leaking. She's coming out.
Like in terms of the metal shavings, you mean?
Yeah. I guess a lot of people have them. I don't know. This is my first one of these, really.
I guess he's had a lot of these. Has he ever done this job on one?
No. Hey, he might have done an outer seal on the Bravada. I don't know. I think. Jack. 15. Yep. This. That's so terrible. It'll work. I guess. Burden?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good Taco Bell. Is it already? It ain't already full. There ain't no damn way. Ain't no damn way. There ain't no damn way. I think it's a quart and a half. If you can get it all in there. This is the problem with this design. Wasn't me. Are you as an adult not supposed to think that's funny? Like, legit question. Do you hear that and not giggle a little bit? Even if you do it inside and you don't tell everyone around you that you're giggling. Aren't you inside like, that sounded like a fart? I'm just saying. Hopefully 2 of these is enough. Hopefully the people in line didn't lie to me. I know. Let's put a peel lift thing on there and then make it where you can't get it off. That sounds like a great idea. I want that going in there. Actually, might as well. Okay. This is gonna be messy. I can't. Let's see, you're in my way.
That might be full. They say fill it till it comes out. Yep, that's what they say to do. And then you throw a little bit of dirt in there for good luck. And then you put a little bit on here for even better luck. And then you put this on, and the trick is you wrench this on as hard as you ever lovin' can. So that way the next person has no chance of getting that bad boy off. None. No chance. Wait, we're not done yet. There's a certain way? Are you being serious? I see. That's where that notch is at. Too bad that was the hardest part of the job. Huh? Keep telling yourself that.